Shalom, giving over. Entitle this video, Why We Here at GMS Teach the This is a throwback. And I remember when this video was made, 2016. So this, you see, it doesn't have a beard. This was 2016 when they had, he would do videos with Dr. James White. Anyway, he says, I got a nickname for everybody. Yeah, one of the nicknames I gave to Dr. James White was Dr. James White, the Edomite, just to get under his skin. And one day he said, I guess it's stuck. People started calling him James White, the Edomite. And in one video, he said, and I'm not an Edomite. Well, how do you know you're not an Edomite? But we did it just to get under your skin. No harm in that. No harm, no foul. Anyway, I just want you to listen. And this is the origins of the whole Cornelius thing. The individual that's speaking on the phone, I remember him. I forget his name, but I remember him very well. I believe he was like a Wall Street guy. Like he used to come in with the suits. He come from Wall Street and so forth. I don't know if he says this in the video, but he kind of joined forces with Abu. Now, Abu, when we first got on YouTube, 2007, I think it was about maybe 6 months in, that's when we encountered the Truth After Knowledge crew, which he was a part of, the guy on the phone. I forget the brother's name. Anybody that's listening, give me his name. I forget his name. Cool brother, you know. But that was 7 months in to when we first got on YouTube, and we would go back and forth with Abu and the Truth After Knowledge crew. And I remember there was one time where it was Apostle Gabar and Apostle Ariam Lab, and they were arguing back and forth with Abu all night till the morning. So I was telling him, I said, what the fuck you arguing with this guy? It ain't going nowhere. He ain't gonna believe this. But then years later, as you can see, what's this guy's name? Vocab Malone. Anyway, so they're into it, and they mention my name. They both say, yeah, Tahar. He says, I would like to go to Tahar, hang out with Tahar, you know, which that ain't gonna happen, you know. I don't let too many people in my house anyway. But anyway, they're gonna talk about the Cornelius thing, and the individual on the phone says that the first person to bring it up was Tahar. It wasn't me. It was High Priest Ariah before the split, and I told that story before. Then after the split, the spirit jumped on Apostle Gabar. So when we went through it, and I said, well, that's the spirit, because this is the second time the Cornelius thing is coming up that he's an Israelite. With first maybe a year before the split, there was High Priest Ariah that had High Priest Shaw, which he knows Shaw now. You got him in one of the videos standing next to Ariah. He would call me on my Monday night class and talk, and I would say, look, I'm in the middle of the class. Can you call me later? You know, this is before beepers and smartphones and cell phones. And he called one night, and I'm like, who's that? It's Shaw. And I said, oh, boy. So he says, you know, Ariah says, Cornelius, he thinks Cornelius is an Israelite. And I was so appalled that I just hung the phone up on him. And I said, well, if they bring me to council, I'll deal with it then. But he never called back. And I believe he told, I believe Ariah said, call Tahar, see what he thinks about it. Because I was at a point where before they would go into something, they would always ask me, General Yohana, and others, Barak, and others. And we would have councils on things. Like, for example, the Second Ezra 11th chapter and Second Ezra 12th chapter, we all got together. It was myself, Barak from the HODC was there, Ariala was there, General Yohana was there, you know, the rest of the seven was there. and we were, going through it, but we came to the conclusion that was talking about the 12 Caesars, but we didn't go in. We never went into detail. It kind of came up, and then it kind of got pushed in the back burner. But we went through the complete breakdown. So, the second Ezra's 11, the second Ezra's 12 came from us. So if anybody's breaking it down, they got it from us. Let the record reflect. Anyway, so give me a second. So let me let you listen. I hope you can hear this. Listen up, listen up, listen up.
All right, I can listen to him. I don't mean like it's accurate. I'm just saying on a personal level, kind of enjoying him. You know what I'm saying?
He does. He was, he was always a showman on the streets, and he was one of the more enjoyable teachers out there to watch. Yeah.
I mean, I can say, if I can see going over to Har's house, kicking out. I don't know if he'd have me, but Okay, so what's up with Tahar and Cornelius? Because my understanding is that's a key piece to all this going down. Tahar and Cornelius, explain.
Was the first brother. Tahar was the first brother. They always had a breakdown of Acts 10 and Acts 15 to do with Cornelius, because that was obviously sort of a monkey wrench in the Gentiles can't be saved out.
Because it appears Cornelius is not by any stretch of the imagination an Israelite. I mean, just read the text and you can see how Peter speaks to him. You can see the way he's described. So all of a sudden, this dude it looks like he's in the mix, right? So how do they explain it back then?
The explanation kind of jumped around a little bit. One of the some brothers that go back in the school will know what I'm talking about when I say the trick bag. They would always say the trick bag. The Most High, the white man in the trick bag. Some brothers would admit that Cornelius, Tahar was one, who would admit that Cornelius genuinely received salvation.
Right.
I remember him saying in one thing, he said, because when we came with the gospel, Cornelius was the only one who bowed down.
Right.
Okay. Brothers frequently say Cornelius was going to receive some type of mercy in the kingdom.
Okay.
Alms deeds toward the people of Israel, etc. and stuff.
Right. That's somewhat true. We said that basically what the head said, Masha Ariyah, the rest of the heads, they said that he was an Edomite that was there to hold the book, which never really made no sense. So that kept coming up, the whole Cornelius issue. Cornelius is definitely an Israelite.
Right. Like that.
Give me a second.
With a satisfactory explanation of, well, if Cornelius could be saved, why not? Doesn't any other Gentile need to just do the same thing, become devout, God-fearing man, and
quick
receive the grace of God?
Do you know the answer to this? Did anybody ever say, well, dude was probably Italian, so he was still an Israelite? Did anyone ever go that route? You know what I'm saying?
No, because Italian was considered a white person, an Edomite. So no.
Tahar was the first one to say that.
Oh, so the explanation, the modern explanation is via his, so I guess they'd probably be assuming he's some kind of Southern Italian, such as Sicilian or Napolitano. And then probably thinking through that, he's able to have Israelite lineage. And so he legitimately is.
Never taught that. No, we never taught it that way. that this is said, that cease to say anything like that. Just so you know.
So that's current explanation.
That's pretty much as far as it goes. There's nothing in the text that says that. All the
Right.
conversation that happens between Peter
Mhm.
and Cornelius.
This is
And
Acts
then the
chapter 10,
follow-up.
everybody. Acts chapter 10 primarily. But then there's a follow-up in Acts 15. Go ahead.
Precisely. The follow-up in Acts 15, it emphasizes it even more.
Right. Yeah. Just read it.
So, yeah.
Okay, so Tahar comes out with this to kind of get around a problem, and what happens? What's the reaction?
Okay, he already had some rivalries going on before that.
Yeah.
There was two things that Tahar was teaching. He started saying that Cornelius was indeed an Israelite.
And here's the next one, everybody. Get ready for this.
Next one. That in the kingdom, or when Israel receives their power, it's all right to rape women.
All right.
That would be raping women, ravage the women, and all that sort of thing.
Put a pause on that for a second. So that's why sometimes people use it.
That's in the scripture. I did a video earlier. I did three videos today, I think. The first of the three, the earliest video, I go into read the book of Numbers, the 31st chapter. Read the whole chapter. And Moses gets mad at the men of war, the Israelites, officers of thousands, tens, and so forth. They grab up. They killed them. I read it, so I should remember it. They killed all the men, and I believe they saved some of the men and some of the younger boys and some of the younger girls and the married women that were killed. You know, their husbands were killed. Moses got mad at them and said, "Get rid of the woman that's, been with man. A married woman. Kill her. Kill all the men, and kill all the boy babies, but save the young women, the girls that have not been touched by a man." He's talking to these warriors. He said, "And save them for yourselves." What do you think they were doing? They were popping them. Those were concubines, and the children, and they were having birth. Those girls were having birth. So those women, the Midianite women, were giving birth to Israelite men and women, because the seed come from the man.
Just they call it the rape doctrine. Now GMS wants to make sure you know they're not talking about doing it now. They are talking about the kingdom, just so everybody knows.
Right.
Well, we want to call it like it is. However, I'll tell you, man, the Southside GMS crew that I ran into, which homeboy has resurfaced currently on YouTube. Shout out to my fellow Southsider. He would be in Schiller Park, place I used to play ball at, and while joggers are going around saying, "What OJ did to Nicole Brown Simpson is what's going to happen to all Edomite women in the kingdom. That was righteous to do." That's right. So it's kind of like a precursor to the.
Well, OJ doing what let's go with that he did it. He was justified to do it because he was caught in the act of adultery. Oh no, Goldman was just bringing the glass. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. So you're I'm at a restaurant, I'm eating, I leave, I watch her, and then the guy says, "Oh, let me bring it to her." No, just call the restaurant. "Oh, you left your glasses here. We got it on the side. When you come back, you come three times a week. When you come back, they're there for you." So that was bullshit. That was some bullshit. It tells you about the rage of a man. That's if OJ did it, but he was acquitted. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Let me go to Proverbs. Proverbs 6. I want to go right to the point. Come on now. And this guy Goldman was a small hat, a so-called. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. And Nicole Brown, she was out there, trust me. Oh, and she was a good. She was a good-looking woman. She was a fine woman. I see why OJ got with it. See, that's the type of woman, Edomite woman, we're gonna get in the kingdom if she's in fact the Edomite. Okay, can a man take fire in his bosom and clothes? It's talking about adultery, like you're playing with fire. Man 30, men do not despise a thief if he still satisfy the stole when he is hungry, but if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. But whosoever committeth adultery, and that's what she was found in the act of, they try to cover it up. Oh, he was just trying to bring the glass to the woman. But whosoever committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. Now, OJ wound up destroying this guy's soul and his woman's soul. So he was justified in doing what he did. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. For jealousy is the rage of a man. That's OJ. OJ was enraged at the fact that his woman was getting in with another man, and they were married. So he had every right, pursuant to the laws of God, for him to do what he did. Therefore, he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, be happy, though thou giveth many gifts. Now let's look up the word rage. Let's look up the word rage. Okay, the word there is kama, fury, wrath, poison, furious, displeasure, displeased, rage, anger, bottles, furious, furiously, indignation, wrathful, wrath. Indignation means justifiable anger. You killed the man and your woman because you caught him in the act of adultery. You're justified under the laws of God. Okay? So let's listen to some more.
I guess. At least that's what. Now I don't know if the heart would say that, but this crew was saying that, and so GMS kind of has that. And so Tahar came out with both things at the same time. What was the result?
Well, okay. So at that time, some funny things were beginning to happen.
I would like you guys to grow a backbone and balls big enough to read Numbers, the 31st chapter. I would like you guys to do a class on that.
Happened in the school.
All right.
Marshall was moving on in age. You had
hold on. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I heard. Now you may not have to comment that some people suspect he may have been going senile.
Yeah, there was some evidence of that.
Okay.
It was shortly before his death.
Okay, go ahead.
He wasn't senile at all. He was in his right mind. Now that's people spreading lies. You know, he was not senile. He was in his right mind. Even up until his death, he was in his right mind because we saw him every week. Give me a second here. It was Yaikwab that was getting senile because he was up in age. He's a lot older than King Masha. So let's listen.
Just
some people had whispered that.
Okay.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Sure. there was two upcoming leaders in the House of David
Hmm.
school, which were Nathaniel Gallagher and Rahab. Nathaniel Gallagher now is who everybody knows as Nathaniel, who spearheaded the Israel United in Christ movement.
That's the camp. Whenever we talk about them, we refer to them as professional, polished,
Very much so.
organized, rational in a certain manner of speaking, yet still kind of hardcore in doctrine. I mean, they wear the purple and gold, so everybody
Yeah.
can know, you know.
They very much have all kind of been somewhat that is very much Nathaniel and Nathaniel Gallagher's persona.
Right.
that
Okay.
you see. And he's kind of shaped, his group after himself, or they modeled themselves after him.
Right.
So that was always his style and his approach. Rahab was a little more of a belligerent guy, more like some of the guys you would see in some of those more, rough around the edges camps on YouTube today.
Right.
So these guys were up and coming in the ranks, and they kind of became Mashar's spokesperson. Whenever there was,
Mhm.
whenever as Mashar aged, he would send these guys out to follow up with the schools, going and visit the different schools around and spur them on and that sort of thing. They began to develop a little bit of a different vision.
Right.
And in my
Okay.
opinion, is they wanted to take it in some new directions.
Yeah, okay.
And sort of a seize on the power seat.
So I've
like
heard this
Benjamin
talked
said.
about. Is this what you're going to talk about? Kind of sometimes referred to as the coup.
Yeah, so they had to get me out of the way. When I say me, I'm talking about myself, Pastor Gabar, Pastor Ricard, Pastor Ramlab, the Connecticut crew, you can call us. They pretty much set us up to get us pushed out the way. And then after we got pushed out the way, so to speak, because of the Cornelius issue, I don't know all the details of the HODC and the other camps that broke off, but they were like guys breaking off. They would come up with new rules and so forth. All right.
Yeah, I would say so. Yep.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
happens? There's a council, right?
Well, one thing, the council didn't happen yet, where they overturned Mashar. One of Mashar's loyal men was Tahar.
And there's where you can see his sort of what I would call maybe tendency towards personal affection or warmth comes in. Very loyal.
Oh, absolutely. He never stopped being loyal to both Mashar and Ariyah, no matter what differences he had
Right.
with it.
Did y'all hear that? Can General Yohana say that? Can I'm eating. Can Bishop Nate say that? That's why we got on Bishop Nate when he did his little thing. Oh, my elder. That was bullshit. You split them two apart, man. So you looked at for you to say that that's your elder and that's my God, not my God, but my teacher that taught me everything that you teach in the scriptures you got from High Priest Ariyah. But you got the Mo's ear. We call him Mo affectionately. We got the Mo's ear. You got the Mo's ear, and you had a school set up because of this guy, a mafia. He's dead. That old nigga's dead. And I hope he's burning in hell too. Nah, just joking. But anyway, they said, oh, they used this guy, a mafia, because he had a school. He had like a place. And they said, oh, we got a school now. If this guy, a mafia never had a school, they wouldn't have no place to go. So they made sure they said that's why they was cool with that guy. And ultimately, I believe they kicked him out or whatever, or they moved on. They just wanted to have their own little thing, Anyway, let's listen on.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he still speaks of both of them very highly and with great regard, reverence. But I think, highly and with them.
Right.
He never stopped being loyal to both Mashar and Ariyah, no matter.
Thank you, my brother. Tahar never stopped being loyal to Ariyah and Mashar. How many of these guys can say that? None of them.
What what differences he had
Right.
with them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he still speaks of both of them very highly and with great regard, reverence. But I think, from where I was standing,
Yeah.
Tahar was somebody who sort of needed to be moved out of the way.
Right.
He had a lot of weight. He had a lot of influence in the school.
Yeah.
He was dear to Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Because they wouldn't even helping Marshall with money. And this is talking about Bishop Nate. He mentioned Rahab, but there was another guy, Yaasha, who I was real cool with at the time. When they had the split, Mo needed financial help. They wasn't helping him with shit. But yet, we can't help you. And they were sitting on the lot. They had control of the treasury, man. So I had to come up and I said, look, the man needs some money. I thought he's supposed to be the king of Israel. Y'all can't give the man no money. I would have gave money if I had it. If I had control of the treasury, they didn't want to give this guy a dime. And I had to come to the and you know what? I left their council. I said, I don't want to be on your council. I told them guys in the council, they said, why don't you want to be in the council? I said, because this council is a wicked council. I said, you make the old council look like Boy Scouts, man. And they got all upset. You got to explain yourself. When I went to explain, they didn't want to hear it. So they had it in for me to get me out of there, man, because they were going left and I was going right.
And I don't think that they were going to take it where they wanted with Tahar still around.
So they had to find a pretense to bounce him out.
Right.
And the pretense they used was?
The Cornelius issue.
Which is
Again,
ironic because what does almost every group teach now?
They all teach that now.
Yeah, they almost all do.
Who knows for vocab? What does every other group teach now? This is coming out of vocab's mouth. Vocab is telling the truth. Because none of them guys were teaching that. None of them guys were teaching. Now they do.
Except for GOCC, I think, right? I think they just got him as a Gentile.
Yeah, GOCC is, probably come the furthest out of the UPK groups.
Okay.
Any kind of orthodoxy,
Yeah, yeah.
So, as I was saying, I think Tahar saw the difficulty with the Cornelius breakdown, the trick bag thing. Where the Most High made it. There was always an explanation of why the Bible seemed to be saying one thing but really said another. It was almost whatever the Bible really seemed to be saying was the opposite. If the New Testament appeared to be saying you don't have to keep the law of Moses anymore, there was a special reason that you had to get to understand why it was saying you had to keep the law of Moses. If it appeared that it was saying Gentiles could be saved, no, you had to delve into it deeper and find out. So almost everything that was manifest and obvious in the scriptures, you had to go for this, long walk around. And, they tell you exactly why what you were reading was not what it seemed to be saying. And it was the exact opposite. You know, Tahar, I think, was one of the first brothers that saw ahead that there was a difficulty in buttoning down the Gentile issue so long as Cornelius was a genuine non-Jew, a genuine Gentile.
Yeah, right.
There was also several people in Tahar's camp going way back who didn't look like typical quote-unquote Israelites.
Right. So, I mean, even in the modern era, there's the dude who led the Southside GMS Columbus crew that's kind of notorious because he looks like an Irish dude. Now, he'll call himself light-skinned. And that's why sometimes dudes are like,
really light-skinned.
You're right, yeah, light-skinned with red hair. And they'll say, yo, man, don't call us the Black Hebrew Israelites. Look at that dude over there. That type of thing. But, so you're saying there were some dudes that seem like, well, you don't seem to fit the profile, but hey. All right.
Right.
So,
if they could vibe with what the teaching was,
right.
Tahar is, as you see, is he claims to be able to read spirits.
Yeah.
So he exercises that. If somebody's if somebody strikes him as Israel, then boom, they're Israel. Leonardo DiCaprio in Tahar's book is an Israelite.
Oh, he is Italian,
Leonardo DiCaprio is an Israelite. For the record.
Yeah, he likes the style, you know.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio's a cool dude. So, you know, we'll mark him down if we ever get a chance.
He might be
we'll sit
Jake.
him do the-
He might be
Exactly.
Jake. Let me
Exactly.
stop real. So Jake is short for Jacob, and a lot of times it's the way
Exactly.
that an Israelite cat will refer to somebody who's sort of not awoke to the truth yet, but is of the proper lineage, is the way I would describe it. So they might say he might be Jake.
That's
So because prior to Israel, who is Jacob? Well, let's abbreviate, break it down, speak with a little flavor. Jake. So there you go, so everybody can understand. Sometimes people talk about their Jake job. That's their job, kind of outside. They got to go do, you know.
right.
So learning the lingo.
Now there was always a teaching that, you know, they would quote certain scriptures. Israel is as a speckled bird. There was always a teaching that there were Israelites out there who didn't look like Israel.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But nobody ever, you know, what do you do with that? Then you got to preach this thing to anybody, and whoever responds to it, you know, you got to say they're an Israelite.
Now you
So-
told me something.
Yeah.
At least I heard it from somewhere, where sometimes where in a modern era where Tahar will kind of be not feeling, let's say, Brother Nathan, he'll say, "You're kind of looking like a Watusi right now."
You starting to look like a Watusi to me,
Now
right?
I understand what
It
that
is-
means, but can you
yeah.
explain that to somebody who's like, I don't really understand?
No, I never said that. I don't know where you got that from. I never said that. I never said Nate looks like a Watusi. I said he looked like a Sudanese. Just joking. No, I never said that. Never looked at Nate that way.
What you guys are saying right now? What's the significance of that?
Well, if I had a nickel for every time somebody left the school or had a fallout in the school and they were no longer dubbed an Israelite,
Yeah, yeah.
same thing happened to me when I left the school.
Oh,
You know?
what they call you?
Oh, you're an Edomite
Oh.
or something like that. Yeah, you're a Gentile.
Do they sometimes
and
use the
stuff.
phraseology tear?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
is
yeah.
it tear somebody who looks like an Israelite but is actually of the wrong ethnic lineage? Is that kind of the technical definition or what?
Yeah, that could be.
Okay.
That could be. Yeah, that's one of the possibilities there. So yeah, like I said, they always kind of held that teaching that anybody might be an Israelite for all we know, but only Israel is going to respond to this truth.
Right.
Tahar was the first person to actually take them to task on that and say,
Right.
well, you know, let's you know, let's make it a, because to them that was just a theory. No one ever actually brought a non-Israelite looking person into the school. So I
Right.
was the first one. And-
It's interesting because sort of the most radical in the way they street teach, most people would say is GMS, but yet they're also the most open to say, yo, this dude may not look like, but he can be down with the crew. Even really more than GOCC, because GOCC still has these rules and regulations for so-called Gentiles where you got to be under the authority in a clear way. You got to be kind of like commissioned. Your teaching needs to be monitored, that type of thing. It seems like GMS is a little bit more of an openness in that way, which is, again, highly ironic considering their whole approach and vibe. But, you know, it is what it is.
Right, right.
So Mashah dies. When does he die?
Not before Tahar got bounced out of the school.
Okay.
That was something that I was in the midst of. I was right in the eye of the storm, and
Mhm.
you know, that council where you know, they were kind of because I did have, you know, something to do with you know, some brothers out there in the Bridgeport, Connecticut area that Tahar presided over.
Okay.
You know, became close with one brother in particular, and so every school leader or camp leader was kind of jealous over their men. You know, they kind of
Yeah.
want to control and, you know, keep them to themselves. They didn't really like people, you know, sort of, you know, cross communication between other camps. You know,
Yeah.
which I kind of broke that. You know, I became good friends with one particular brother, and
Who that brother is, I don't have any knowledge of that. If he is, then we still together, the Connecticut crew. So I mean, now I'm thinking you an agent. You might be an agent, man. Let me get one of the Tahar's guys and get the inside scoop on what's up in Connecticut. That's the move of an agent.
because of that, some of the conversations that ensued, they wanted my input at the council.
Oh, okay.
It was really very manipulative. I didn't really understand what I was getting into the middle of. I was just a young man at that time,
Right.
you know. But it was to frame and you know, and get evidence against Tahar to boot him out of school.
Right. Okay.
Talking about he died and he's burning in hell. I become born again, Bishop Nate. I now follow your doctrine, the hell doctrine. He's backstroking in the lake of fire. That's this guy, Yashar Moth, which I couldn't stand that knock worse head nigga. Benjamite. Couldn't stand that motherfucker, man. You don't know how many times I wanted to beat the shit out that dude. But he died, and I'm glad he's dead, and I hope he's backstroking in the lake of fire.
True.
All right.
No.
So I mean, let's jump a little bit to the ICUPK stuff. You know, Tazadakia and all that.
Well, let me say it this way. Let me give it the stamp of approval. Fuck a mafia, not a mafia. Yashar Moth. Fuck Yashar Moth. Fuck that knockwitch head piece of shit. That he was a third titty, by the way. This guy wasn't important. Apostle Ramlob, all the brothers in Connecticut will tell you that, man. The only individual that was cool out of that whole family was the wife. The rest of them were a bunch of demons. But his son was cool. But he fell out. But he got with Nathan, Bishop Nathaniel's crew. A couple of them guys did, but then he eventually fell out. He became a regular person. But he was cool.
Stuff like this kind of.
Well, let me bring this
Okay.
thing back. And you mentioned it before. Shortly after now, Tahar's out of the school. They disassociate from him. Mashar continued to have some concourse with him.
Mhm.
Sometimes they would keep certain holy days together and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I think once those younger men saw that Tahar and Mashar still had a bond, that's when they had to attack Mashar.
Oh. Okay.
Right.
Yep. And I told Mo, I said they're gonna wind up kicking you out, because we were still getting with Mo, and we still used to run in the RER.
Once we got to get Mashar out of the way, and it's time for us to usurp, the reins here. And then they came out with things that were probably true, maybe somewhat exaggerated, but things that had been whispered since way back. That some of those old elders like Mashar and them, that they had been dealing with Kabbalah, with certain types of Satanism, dealing with there was a book they didn't share with other brothers. They probably long since discarded it by the time I came around. But there was a book, The Seals of Solomon, where it was teaching you even things on how to bind and control demons and get them to do your bidding.
Okay, so I remember you mentioned this. So basically, how to control demons. That was kind of an undercurrent, and they brought this out against Mashah, saying, "Hey, this is shady business," type of thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It was a convenient time to bring those.
Actually, it was Bishop Nate, the bishop. He said he had a dream. He told me all this. Ask Bishop Nathaniel, because I don't think he'll lie. If you ask him, did you speak to Tahar after the split, after all the splits and everything, including the guys that were cool with you? They went their separate ways. He called me out of the blue. You can ask him. If you can get in contact with him, ask him. If he's an honest man, he'll tell you, yeah. But anyway, he told me the reason why Mo was kind of kicked out, he wasn't so much kicked out, but there was like tension, so they kind of went their separate ways. So they didn't kick him out, but there was a lot of tension. And I said that. I said, watch what these niggas gonna do. I said, they're gonna kick you out, Mo. Now, years later, Bishop Nathaniel called me out of the blue. He had my number. I didn't have his number. That's when we had cell phones. And he ran down what happened and how the breakups took place. First thing was, if you have a wife, she got to be in the truth. If she's not in the truth, you got to cut her off, which they're teaching that today, which is clearly not scriptural. Then he said about about Mo. Mo kind of like they said he's no longer a man of the Lord. He's not the king. He's not King David, all this, because Bishop Nathaniel had a dream that Marshall told him to take a pot of rice and give it to the people. And he saw pork in it, pork juice in it. So he said, Marshall, there's pork juice in there. He said, so what? Just give it to the people. And he woke up from a dream. And based upon that, the scriptures say dreams lift up fools. Not saying that dreams are vision, but sometimes you just have a dream, a crazy dream. You might have seen somebody out in the street with a crazy big nose, and you might dream about that person, chasing you or something like that. We all had those crazy, well, at least I have, but he said, and I woke up from that dream, I knew that the Lord wasn't dealing with Mo based upon the dream. So I guess if you have a dream that your wife committed adultery, you can kill her and tell the court, well, I had a dream that she committed adultery, But so that led to the splits, And then Mo called me, yeah, we're no longer with them. And I said, I told you, Mo, I told you. And then after that, they kept changing the doctrine. The thing was, don't keep the law. We under grace. I better not catch nobody keeping the law. There's no Sabbath. There's no this. And you got to prove, and I said this in recent videos, you got to prove that you're not keeping the law by eating pork in front of us. Well, that's the spirit of Antiochus Epiphanes. So that's when a bunch of 14 guys had left. They think they said on a Friday, that Monday, there were 14 men that were cool, that were coming up in the ranks. They didn't come back. And the bishop realized, I believe it was on that Monday, he realized I went off, or we went off, because it wasn't just him. And then eventually all those guys went their separate ways. Oh, and that thing about keep the law that IUIC brings out, they got it from the Phoenix rattlesnake. That nigga, Okay. Okay, just looking at that. Let me X that out. I'll check that out later.
Those things forward.
Right. Yeah, I got you. So that's what they used for him.
Yep, they severed from Marshall. The school I was part of followed suit with Nathaniel Oliver and Rahab.
Mm-hmm.
That became 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay.
And that didn't last very long. It was shortly after that I left the school. Because
they became a bunch of reservoir dogs. And the 12 tribe production was always there. It was just a separate little company that they had, that really Yasha had.
It became 12 tribes. All of a sudden, the teaching surfaced that Cornelius really is an Israelite.
Yeah. So,
and I'm like, wait a minute. Then these guys owe Tahar and his camp an apology.
Right.
These guys owe Tahar and his camp an apology.
Right.
Then these guys owe Tahar and his camp an apology.
Right.
Then these guys owe Tahar and his camp an apology.
Right.
Which Bishop Nate never did. That's why the latest video I did about him, oh, my elder, I cursing his ass out because he's full of shit. Now he's teaching that he can get with vocab now. He's getting closer to vocab. He can become a vocabite. He's teaching that there's hell, that you burn in hell forever. And he's going to go into it. I watched his other video, Shout Out Tuesdays, the recent one that he did, which was yesterday. He said he went through it. He went through Revelation 20:4 with the mark. And he said that sin, whether it's political or religious or whatever. And then he went into the lake of fire and he said, I'll explain it this coming Saturday, which I thought he already went through it last Saturday. Well, you got to keep going through it, brother. There ain't no the lake of fire is America, man. And even Apostle Ramlab did a video earlier this morning on that subject, and he quoted one of the scriptures that he quoted was I didn't see the whole video. One of the scriptures that he quoted was Revelation 15, but the first two verses, where it says the ones that got victory over the beast and the image and so forth, and they were above the sea of glass, mingled with fire. That's us being in ships, looking down at America being destroyed by nuclear, thermonuclear destruction.
All right.
You know,
When Tahara hears this show, I feel like he's gonna be like, listen to even these fools be vindicating me. You know, something.
Even these fools be vindicating me. They're vindicating me. This guy is supposed to be my enemy, but he's making me look good. And the individual on the phone, he's making me look good. He's being honest. He's being honest, extremely honest.
Like that.
vindicated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, like
So,
Oh, because what is it, a week, 2 weeks later, they tried to get us to come back to the school. We're gonna work things out. And I basically told them, I said, don't call us, we'll call you. In other words, fuck you. And have a nice day, you know?
it is what it is.
I said,
But they did try to get us back. I said, well, I ain't going back to this bullshit. Because it'll be cool for about a month. I'll go right back to that bullshit. I said, I don't want to have nothing to do with you niggas. Point blank, period.
things to our teachers on any level, you know.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it went down.
Right.
That's the way it went down.
All right. So I want to look at the UPK stuff though, because we kind of left that for a minute. But what's going on there? A lot of changes there too around this 94, 95, 96 type thing. What's going on there?
Yeah. UPK continued to be, you know, they both continued to be rivals, House of David and UPK.
Yeah. Okay.
As the countdown to the what becomes the you know, and I guess the brother will talk about that later on.
The year 2000 prophecy. We're going to talk about that at the very end of the show. So we're kind of really hitting the 90s kind of hard, and we're going to end this show today with the discussion briefly about the failed prophecy of the year 2000. So we're moving through the 90s.
It wasn't a prophecy. It was a timetable that was off by 20 some odd years. It was based upon Hosea 6:2. After 2 days, so it's a 2000 year 2000. Ariad never said we're going to be out of here on the year 2000. We said we're going to be out of here. That was back in the 80s. We'll be out of here before the year 2000. That's what was said. I never prophesied of it. What a prophecy is when you get a dream and you speak the dream that you had by the Most High. Ariad never got a dream. It was just an assessment of the scriptures, just like the Cornelius thing. We realized the Cornelius thing was off, that he was not an Edomite. Had nothing to do with prophecy. So, I mean, if it has anything to do with any prophecy at all, it would be, what is that, Luke 17:20, if I'm not mistaken. It said you're going to pray. Matter of fact, let me go to that. And I'm going to get ready to close. Luke 17. There we go. Luke 17:20. I just want to get the right. I don't want to read too much into it. Okay, this is what I wanted. Let me start right here at the 20th verse. The key point is in the 22nd verse, Luke 17:20. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees when the kingdom of the Most High should come, he answered them and said, the kingdom of the Most High cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, lo here or lo there. For behold, the kingdom of the Most High is within you. So the kingdom of the Most High been here. We didn't have to wait for the 2000. And he said unto the disciples, the days will come when ye shall desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man. What was that day? Before the year 2000. And ye shall not see it. So we had to say that to fulfill what the Lord said. That was a prophecy right there. So we were justified in saying what we said. All right. So let's listen on.
I'm gonna jump into that. So what's up with UPK and all that?
Yeah, I didn't. That was one group that since we split ways, I didn't have any contact with. We just would hear things. They had some web pages up at the time. They still had some programs going on in the New York area and some other cities and stuff like that. Some television programs, but we didn't really have much to do with them. They really despised us,
Right.
But as the countdown to Y2K comes, I think they started to shift some positioning. Well, once it passes,
Right.
there's a whole regrouping and adjusting themselves. Trying to get some new footing when their foremost prophecy ends up falling flat on its face.
And the 2000 thing was a stumbling block to the unbelievers, because guess what? They said year 2000, nothing happened. I'm out of here. I'm going back to being a Catholic or a Baptist. So we stayed. So that was a stumbling block. That was a stumbling block. Did not the Most High make? Let me go to the precept because I want to read it. Let me see. What can I put in to find it? Let me do this. Let me see if I can if I'm spelling it right. Okay, lying spirit, spirit. Okay, here it is. 1 Kings 22:22. You got to read a couple of verses above that. But can the Most High lie to you? Yes, he can. Through his spirits, his angels. And Yahweh said unto him, wherewithher, I'm sorry, let me go up. I have to go up. I must be allowed to go up a couple other verses. Wow, I really got to go up here. And Micah, which was the prophet that the king hated, he wanted a Ramoth Gilead is we're gonna read into it. He was asking the prophets, is he going to succeed? And I believe it was 400 prophets. We'll find out in a minute. Said yes, you're going to defeat that king, that nation. But Micah said, no, you're not. You're gonna get killed. So what did he do? He said, well, you got one guy saying I'm going to get killed. You got 400 prophets saying I'm not going to get killed. Easy math. I'm going with the majority. Well, why did they say that? Because the Most High put a lying spirit in them. So the Most High put a lying spirit in Ariah to set up a stumbling block for the people to leave. It says it, and Micah said, as Yahweh liveth, what Yahweh saith unto me, that will I speak. So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he said, go and prosper. The Lord shall deliver it unto the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, how many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of Yahweh? And he said, I saw all Israel scattered. This is Micaiah talking. And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd, the king. And Yahweh said, these have no master, the king. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me? So the ones that said that you're going to prosper were the 400, let me do this, 18th verse. I believe it was 400. I know I'm positive it's 400. Let me do this. I hadn't read this in a while. Okay, it was 400. Just wanted to make sure. Then the king of Israel, you got Ahab and then you got Jehoshaphat. Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and they told him that he's going to succeed. So with the 18th verse. So he said, did not I tell you that this guy is going to prophesy evil concerning me? He said, I'm going to be dead. 19th verse. And he said, hear thou therefore the word of the Lord, Yahweh. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. Go back to Job, go to Job 1, the first couple of verses, go to Job 2, the first couple of verses, and it speaks about spirits on the right-hand side of the Most High and spirits on the left-hand side. Who do you think the spirits of the left on the left side are? They're the demons. And Yahweh said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? So what was the Most High doing to Ahab the king? He was setting them up to be killed. And one said, on this manner, one demon said, one righteous angel said this, one negative angel said that. They had a council, and another said, on that manner. And there came forth a spirit, this was on the left-hand side, and stood before Yahweh and said, I will persuade him. And Yahweh said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all 400, some are 400 men. I will be a what? A lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. So why did the Most High say, okay, you be a lying spirit in these prophets? Man's goings of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? Because he wanted to set this man up. He wanted to tell him that he was going to succeed when he wasn't going to succeed. So the Most High set up these people that fell out. The year 2000, they fell out. The Most High set them up. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now, therefore, behold, now in the case of Job, it was Satan that was, they made a bet. I bet you I can make him curse your name. Lord said, I bet you can't. This is a special dude. They said, now, therefore, behold, Yahweh hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and Yahweh hath spoken evil concerning thee. So you can read the rest of it. So the Most High sets up the deceived and the deceiver are his. So you get deceived because the Most High sends the deceiver to you to deceive you. A stumbling block. The Lord set up the stumbling block before him. Most High is setting up cats all the time, man. Most High is making it where you leave the truth, and so the Most High can kill your ass. Let's listen to a little bit more.
Right. Jehovah's Witnesses all over again.
Yeah, which was funny because that was one thing they would always cite the passage in Deuteronomy. You know, both us and them. We started House of David started to that prophecy started to take, you know, a back seat.
You talking about Deuteronomy 18, the test of a prophet, test of a true prophet?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I was saying before, is that they would always mock the Jehovah's Witnesses and other, you know, fringe Christian groups who had made these.
Anyway, I'm going to close it on this. I went pretty long. So with that, if y'all want to watch the rest, maybe I'll come back and listen to the rest. But I remember when it first happened, before you even really knew this guy. We used to call him this guy.